Am I the a-hole for not canceling our long-planned trip because my mother-in-law scheduled surgery at the same time? My husband and I have a big trip planned for 5 weeks from now. It's a once-in-a-lifetime type of vacation, 15 days on the other side of the world, over 27 hours of flights each way. We've been planning and saving for it for over 6 months. Both of us work very stressful jobs and very rarely get the chance to take any time off like this. Never did on the last 12 years. My mother-in-law 70 has several health problems. She recently scheduled a complicated surgery for exactly the same time we'll be away. She knew we were away. We were not consulted about the timing. There's almost no other family around, and the few relatives who live about 40 minutes away either don't drive, have jobs, or simply can't/won't help her during recovery. We don't have the option to reschedule our trip without losing a significant amount of money, and honestly, we suspect she chose these dates partly for attention or to create conflict. There were other possible dates. Now there's pressure on us to cancel and be there for her. But we feel that after all the time, money, and energy we put into this trip, and how rarely we get breaks, it's unfair to expect us to change our plans. Am I the a-hole for deciding to still go on our trip? Not the a-hole, it almost sounds deliberate. You scheduled surgery for when we are away. If you are going to need our help, then you will need to reschedule or make other arrangements. Not the a-hole. She can go to a rehab facility or have home health visits. I'd pretend she deliberately scheduled when you weren't going to be there to save you from the headache of her care and the worry, and isn't that so sweet, just like her to do? Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my friends they aren't welcome at my house in Japan? I've been friends with a group of girls since HS. One MF27 I was particularly close with. Also in our group was her best friend EF27, who I never was fond of because I found her dramatic. After finishing my undergrad, I moved to Rome to do a master's. While there, they told me they would be visiting Italy and wanted to do stuff with me. I assumed they were staying in Rome for a while and said great, and asked them to fill me in on their plans so I could see if it worked around my school schedule. They didn't and ended up staying in Rome just 2 days and then traveled across Italy. I was hurt that they had implied they took this trip with me in mind, but then didn't account for me, but said whatever as it was ultimately their trip. After Italy, I moved to Japan. I got a job on the northernmost island. They already had a trip to Japan planned before I moved, so I wasn't expecting them to change their plans to visit me, but said I can fly down to Tokyo, where they said they would be staying the whole time over a weekend to see them. They said great, but when it got closer to the trip, they told me that the only weekend I could see them, they were going to USJ Osaka. For me to go to Osaka would have been vastly more expensive and take more travel time, so I passed. I was hurt again, but said whatever. Finally, M texts me in December and tells me she and E are coming to Japan in April and going to Tokyo and Kyoto. I happened to move to a prefecture between these two cities and offered to let them stay at my house for a few days. I also said multiple times that I was free, unemployed, and wanted to go around Japan with them. I just asked they kept me in the loop so I could plan things out for myself. M said she was super excited and said of course. I made the mistake of then saying I had extended family visiting around the same time who also wanted to visit Tokyo and Kyoto and joked I'd be an expert after these 2 visits. Months go by with no new info. One day E texts me and says bluntly, "We'll be staying with you for 1 night." Then M texts me about tattoo coverings. I asked them what's going on with the trip, and M says they booked everything already. I said I thought I was joining them, and E responds bluntly again with the dates they will be in Kyoto. M says she thought I didn't want to come because I was going to Kyoto with my family, already I wasn't, and to book at their hotel would cost me over $500. I said NVM and that this was the 3rd strike. I told them I wasn't a hotel and they were no longer invited to my house. M apologized and said she always tried to account for everyone's emotions, and she had assumed I was going to Kyoto with my family and wouldn't want to go twice so soon. I said I was tired of being led on. I later apologized for reacting so strongly and said I did so because I miss my friends. E said it's not their job to keep me from being lonely and that they always try and account for me. I cut contact after this. Those are not very nice people and not your friends. Don't look back. They left you out several times, haven't kept you in the loop, and were only going to use your house if it was convenient. The assumption about your family was BS. You made it very clear you wanted to join them on their travels. Not the a-hole. probably should have cut them off sooner. You did the right thing by cutting them off. And then is a joke. She tried to account for everyone's emotion? Clearly everyone means herself and E, and you are always excluded. They don't see you as a friend, and good for you to recognize that. Next story. Am I the a-hole if I don't clarify that I am a type 2 diabetic? I, 30F, was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes last year. Through a program at my job, I can get Dexcom continuous monitors for free as long as I participate. So why not? Occasionally, someone will notice it and ask me what it is because I cover it with a cute patch, and I'll tell them it's a Dexcom CGM. The people I don't have to tell? Old people who have Dexcoms and type 1 diabetics of any age. They see it and know immediately what it is. The old people typically don't know there's a difference between T1D and T2D, but the T1D usually assume I'm also T1D because of my age. I recently had someone I see regularly notice my Dexcom, and I noticed they seemed more interested in me afterwards. Talking about different things, fave snacks and CGMs, late lunches and feeling shaky, etc. Eventually, they asked something about my insulin pump. I clarified that I didn't have one. They seemed shocked and asked what I do then. I told them I'm pretty well controlled with diet, I made massive changes, and Monjaro. They then got snide and accused me of being in a hole by misleading them and pretending I was a type 1 diabetic, and that I should have clarified that I have the diabetes that I did to myself, which is different than having diabetes done to you like a type 1 diabetic. They are avoiding me now and also pointing out to people that I am type 2 diabetic, not type 1. Now I'm questioning if I'm supposed to explain that I'm type 2 diabetic specifically so that I don't accidentally end up masquerading as a type 1 diabetic? What? Type 2 diabetes is more connected to lifestyle and diet, but it's not entirely lifestyle and diet. I know morbidly obese people who live on trash who do not have diabetes, and athletes who eat clean who are type 2 diabetics. Do lifestyle and diet contribute? As you have noted, you are controlling yours with diet and lifestyle, so yes. But genetics and luck of the draw also have a huge role. Not the a-hole, but your new ex-friend is. Not the a-hole. This person is 1, a huge a-hole, 2, wildly misinformed, and 3, not entitled to your medical history. If this person is a coworker, you should explain this situation to HR. Next story. Am I the a-hole for demanding my stepbrother start seeing his son again before I give him money for his pregnant girlfriend? My 40M stepbrother 32M has a son 4M from his previous marriage to Emily 29F. Their relationship after the divorce has been turbulent, to say the least. He used to be more involved in his son's life, but last year they had a dispute over child support, and since then he hasn't really seen him. I've tried to help them patch things up for the sake of the kid, but it's been impossible. I stay in touch with Emily and occasionally see her and the child. I also cover the boy's healthcare. Last month, my stepbrother called me. He's been dating his current girlfriend, 25, for a couple of months, and he told me she's pregnant. They're genuinely happy about it. I tried to be supportive, but I felt it was questionable that he was jumping into having another child so quickly. The bigger issue came when he asked me for money, something he does occasionally, saying he needed help supporting his girlfriend through the pregnancy because she doesn't have a job and his salary is low. I was frustrated by the whole situation but tried to approach it constructively. I offered to help financially with the pregnancy if he repaired his co-parenting relationship with Emily and started seeing his son regularly again. I even offered to help with his child support arrears. He got offended. He insisted that he obviously wanted to see his son but claimed it was entirely Emily's fault that he hadn't. He said he needed to focus on his girlfriend and the upcoming baby right now, and that it wasn't the time to deal with his issues with Emily. He said he might revisit them after the new baby is born. I told him that wasn't acceptable and that if he stayed in that position, I couldn't help financially. He got really upset and accused me of not caring about him or his new family, and of siding with Emily, which isn't true. Not the a-hole. Why is this guy knocking people up when he can't afford it? Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother to spend more time with his kids and less time doing things like taking his yoga teacher to Japan? My brother got divorced last year after having an affair with a coworker at his law firm. I'm still friends with his ex, especially since she is the mother of my niece and nephew, my brother's kids, who both mean a lot to me. The affair and divorce were rather rough on everyone, as could be imagined. We all live in the same area. So a few days ago, he tells me that he is planning to take his yoga instructor on a trip to Japan. But he is going to tell his kids that he will be on a work trip. He asked me if I'd take his son to summer football practice, and of course I will. I like spending time with his kids. I don't have my own. But it irked me, and I told him he's being kind of a bad dad. Maybe he could spend more time with his kids over the summer rather than taking a trip with his latest fling. He said that since I don't have kids, I shouldn't be telling him how to parent. I don't want to cause a rift between he and I, but I also think it's okay to push back a bit when I think he is being too selfish, especially since he is asking me to cover for him. I don't have to know how to fly a helicopter to know that if I see one in a tree, someone effed up. Parents don't get lessons when the baby pops out. A whole lot of parents do a really crap job of it. Lots of child-free people raise siblings or other family members. Being a parent means DCK all about skill at parenting, not the a-hole. Your brother is never going to be a good person. Continue to be there for his kids. He will figure out his mistake when he's one less person at their weddings and they're one less person at his funeral. Next story. Am I the a-hole for bringing my own food to a family fest? 2 years ago, I discovered that gluten was one of my migraine triggers, so is sugar. The past 2 years has been a struggle to adapt my new eating habits to not get migraines alongside with stress. I have a chronic migraine and it's been a hell for that past 15 years. I've tried so many prescriptions from my doctor, got scanned in my brain for blood clot, tried everything to ease my pain, to cold caps, Zoc relief, massage, cold bath, and so on. But nothing ever really helped. Then 2 years ago, I went to a retreat weekend. The food they served were gluten and lactose-free. I felt the very best I've been in a very long time. So when I get home, I studied recipes for gluten-free food. I went to my doctor's and took a test to see if I was allergic to the gluten, but it showed negative, and she said that gluten could be one of my triggers to migraine. So searched for food with no gluten and began the new lifestyle. I also began to bring my own food to the family gatherings at birthdays and holidays. My mother-in-law got very offended and asked if I didn't like her food. Of course not. I will admit, the first year was a struggle to adapt, and I did give in sometimes when I was offered a delicious cake with gluten and sugar. What can I say? I'm only human and I've been used to regular food for 40 years. My husband and I have many times explained to our families what gluten does to me, but his family doesn't really get it. So I bring my own food, and it's sometimes 10 times more delicious that some of our family members wants to taste a little. And then the last time we got to my father-in-law's birthday party, I saw that they had warmed some gluten-free buns and I got so happy. But my mother-in-law was quick to say that they were not for me. It was for our niece, her first grandchild. She's 24, my husband's niece. She had just found out that she's allergic to gluten. And if she eats gluten, it can get so bad that she can't have children, she applied. Luckily, I had my own gluten-free bread with me, and I said, I'll just eat some of my own bread then. And my mother-in-law was quick to say that she'll warm some more buns for me then with an irritated gesture. My husband heard it all and defended me by saying, oh, so just because my wife is in her mid-40s and we're done having kids, then it's okay for her to eat gluten buns? He was so mad, and I was so sad that they didn't take me very seriously for my health. So am I there to bring my own food? Don't get me wrong, I do love my in-laws, and they love me. But sometimes they can be a little too much blindsided. Not the a-hole, absolutely not ta. You are taking care of yourself. Mother-in-law is deliberately being obtuse. She is being petty and childish. She is taking offense where there is none. That's all on her and her own problem, issues, and biase. Ignore her. Keep bringing your delicious food. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not separating drinks in a cooler? Last weekend, I hosted a small barbecue at my house. I invited a few friends and some neighbors since the weather was nice. One of my neighbors brought their young kid who is about 8 years old. I set out food, drinks, and a cooler with beer and soda. Everything was going fine until I noticed the kid had taken one of the beers from the cooler. I immediately took it away and told him that it was not for him. The neighbor got upset and said I should not have put alcohol where kids could reach it. I was confused because the cooler was sitting on the patio next to the grill, clearly full of beer cans, and I did not expect an 8-year-old to just grab one without asking. I told the parent that they should be keeping an eye on their child. The parent got defensive and left early with the kid. Now word has gotten around to some of the other neighbors, and I feel like people are whispering about me being careless. I feel bad because I did not want anyone to feel uncomfortable at my house. But at the same time, I do not think it was my responsibility to childproof everything when there were parents right there. So am I the a-hole for not separating the beer cooler from the rest of the food at my barbecue, or should the parent have been more responsible for watching their child? A neighbor's barbecue is not free childcare. They should have been watching their child. Rather than apologize for their child taking without asking, they tried to shift the blame to you. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Anyone old enough to drink whatever they want without needing parental permission is old enough to read. Beyond that, beer is not appetizing unless you are used to the taste or desire the alcoholic effect. An 8-year-old fits neither of those categories, so something weird is going on there. This is 100% on the parents. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel our posts.